This is the Besh and Brodcast, a glimpse in the Philippine flesh and blood community.
So I think we should go to the next slide since this card is most commonly used with the attack reaction pummel. And this is the classic two card combo and with Fiendal Spring Tunic. This basically is a one pitch and a card from hand, card from arsenal. Attack for 11 and they lose both their arsenal and one of the cards in their hand. So
Yeah.
how about this?
So CNC pommel is so with tunic, right? So it's 10 damage total, off of one blue pitch, and then 10 plus destroying their arsenal plus destroying a card in hand. So 10 damage, then you destroy their arsenal, which is 3, then you make them destroy the card, which is another 3. So that's 3 plus 6 plus 10, 16. So it's a 3 card 16 with tunic. So how I like how I like evaluating lines with tunic is that I minus 1. Because so for example, this is not 3 card 16, it's 3 card 16 minus 1 because 1 came from the tunic. So it's a 3 card 15. That's why I like thinking about tunic plays. So like for example, like in KO, if you tunic claw, let's say you scabs and then you hit, then you fit in an extra tunic claw. I like valuating that as 2, not 3, because you have to use your tunic. I think that's a little bit more accurate valuation. So anyway, in this case, so this is like a 3 card 15, which is insane, right? If you value, so it should, your 3 cards and tunic should be 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. This is 15, and a disruptive effect, and it's sometimes a blowout.
Yes.
When they block and they're hoping you don't have the pummel and you do have it, their turn just got significantly worse. Their turn typically just turns into Arsenal pass. I think before the popularization of Tunic in Bravo, this was a little bit different because with tech plating, you had to keep the extra card in hand. So the pummel was more telegraphed if you took 3 damage. So now they can more easily expect the pummel. And if they overblock to where you can't use the pummel, you're still IPing yourself with the extra blue that you kept. So in that case, it's a 4 card surge, and then 16. Sorry, with the surge that is 16. So like a 4 card 16, which is still good for 4 points per card, but it's a lot worse without tunic. Another thing related to this line actually that I've been thinking about is the value of bluffing. What is the value of bluffing? So for example, I've been thinking about this with Bravo, where if they have a Crown of Providence, what is the value in CNCing somebody with tunic counter up and then having an extra card in hand? So like let's say Crippling Crush. So if your extra card in hand is Crippling Crush, and you CNC them with a tunic counter, how do you how would you evaluate that line, right? Where and let's say they have Crown of Providence and you want to get it out of the way, so that your actual CNC pummel or
Or baiting out the COP.
yeah, or like I with regards to the like regarding that word actually the bait, I'm not sure actually if it's a bait. It might be like forcing it might be a more accurate way of describing it.
Because you still get the value of cycling
Yeah. So
regardless.
like or like basically uh by making this play CNC with tunic up and a unknown card, can they risk the pummel? Right. So if they can't risk the pummel, then you're basically just forcing the CNC, regardless of what you have in hand, because to them it looks like the same thing, right? So if there's value there in forcing the crown, then it's no longer just a 2 card 6, right? Even to you, you know this is just 2 card 6. You block it to 2 cards, you're fine. But if you have the tunic counter up and you think they're gonna respect the pommel in that way, then the value goes up. I even this line actually, I don't know how to value. I don't know how to value. Let's say I don't know how to value it in a way that, like, for example, this came up recently. So let's say I have Tunic Counter. I'm going to have Tunic Counter on my turn as Bravo, and my hand is two blues, a Crippling Crush, and a CNC. So when I'm deciding how to block, so one way to play this hand is two blues, Tunic Counter, and then just play the Crippling Crush. And then just arsenal the CNC and then wait for the Tunic Counter and the pommel. But what if I'm expecting what if like there's the pommels are gone, like one or two pommels are gone in my deck, so it's less likely for it to line up. Or I know that I don't have the time to wait for to keep the CNC in arsenal and then wait for
Wait
the
for the
Tunic Counter.
pommel.
Yeah, wait for the Tunic Counter to tick up and hope the pommel is drawn at the same time. Right? Can I put value now in blocking with the extra blue and then playing CNC and just have Tunic up for the Crippling Crush next turn? Uh, so I sort of float the Tunic Counter, which is inefficient in that way. But if it makes my opponent play inefficiently by crowning, or maybe even overblocking, right?
Overblocking.
Yeah, probably not. You probably shouldn't overblock in that situation. But some people might. Let's say the Arsenal is a game-winning card that you cannot lose, right? Then there might be value there in that. So like let's say you force the crown. You force the crown. You Arsenal away something that is a bomb, right? Like Codex or something. Codex or like Lumina, something that's above rate, and you trade it for a blind card. Then the bluff has value. It 8 armor, and it made them trade a known good card for a blind card, right? So that yeah, I don't know how to value that either. So like let's say so armor is like um oh and related to valuing armor. I think armor is like +1. So like if you have a 2 block armor, it feels like that armor is worth 3. I think so. Yeah, it feels because when you use it to cover breakpoints, it feels like 1 point of value. So when you
Mm,
force somebody to use crown on something that isn't a breakpoint, it feels like you're getting a little bit more value than
Yeah.
-2. It feels like you're taking away armor to pave the way for something else later.
yeah.
Yeah. So that line then it's it gets a little bit more abstract with the bluffing.
I think when
Yeah.
it comes to
It's
bluffing,
a
it
play.
would.
It's a play that uh, would regret. That would make your opponent regret. They're blocking. If they're blocking with their crown for nothing. At the end of their game, it will always linger. Why did I do that block?
Yeah, especially
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
in cases where the pommel is in arsenal and the arsenal is just lingering there, and when they overblock or they use their crown, sometimes you just choose not to use the pommel, even if it was a pommel. So
Mhm.
it's a higher level of bluffing. Like, oh, you didn't use it that turn because you know you can bluff it again next time. So it's very interesting to see it in that regard.
Yeah,
And it
it's
would
interesting to
also,
think about
yeah,
like lines like that, where like I'm inefficient this turn because I'm floating my tunic counter. But uh if the value is like not worth it, then not worth it this turn. Even if I'm being inefficient, if the pommel is greater value some other turn, like let's say just another CNC pommel, then it might have been correct, right, to not use it, even though technically it's inefficient by not utilizing your tunic counter.
I, I think I think there's value in that bluff only insofar as I think you can assume that the opponent is parang treasuring their arsenal in the sense that they want that particular card there. Because I think otherwise, what you get is doing a CNC into a crown is still somewhat value for them because they dodged the hit effect of the CNC. Plus, they got back the card, meaning that they're still on. Basically, in exchange for letting the 4 damage come through, they got a card back, and they still did, and they didn't block with anything from hand. Basically, they didn't dedicate any further resources to it. So I guess that's another thing that you have to factor in. I thought of it came to my mind when Carl was saying maybe the better way to play that when the opportunity presents itself is to see how long that Arsenal card has been there, in the sense that maybe the longer that it's been there, it's either something that they can't factor into their current math for their previous turns, or it's something that they've been wanting to keep for the correct situation. In which case, if you get the latter, then that's the value. If it's a deck that sets up and looks for a particular card, then the value is that you get to push them back from their game plan that many turns. In the sense that they probably have to look for another copy of the same card, if ever.
Yeah, that's actually a whole other topic that I
Yeah, I
want to talk
know.
about. It's just historic. I guess you can summarize it as like historical data and uh historical date using historical data and deduction of um
The soul
hand and
read.
hand and arsenal ranges. So like
Mm.
based on what they do or what they did, what is the arsenal? What is the arsenal based on what their hand was? That's
Yeah,
a whole other
it's
topic. That's
also
like sounds super fun. Yeah, it's super
yeah,
fun.
it's also a whole different topic, but it also enforces the idea that it's better. It's always better to play relatively confident. Like even if you have the pummel or you don't have the pummel, you act the same way. You say
Yeah, yeah,
pitching blue, CNC, then look your opponent in the eye, and then say,
yeah, yeah.
then just wait for them to fold or for them to respond.
hmm Yeah,
Yeah,
related to that also like playing consistently actually. When people say like no blocks any reactions and then they like put a card ready to block with their sync below. Because yeah, like it that's why I actually started being like consistent with that as well. Like I think I say now I always say pass. I don't say no blocks any reactions. I just say pass.
yeah.
So yeah, it's very that's another thing because
Nah,
some people
that,
will yeah, some people will say no blocks any reactions as they're putting the sync below out from their hand. So okay, go ahead.
it also encourages everyone to play cleaner.
Dinner.
So you won't
Yes,
miss any
yes.
interactions. If you play slightly messy, where you do skip your passes, and eventually you get to the point that there will be an argument about when the defense reaction is played or when the instant is played.
Mhm,
It's there where it gets a little bit messy.
mhm.
Okay, so let's go to the the next. I think we have a few more because
Okay.
background with all of these
Oh, okay.
cards and sets. These are all topics that Justin and I have talked about in the middle
Uh,
of games or during
yeah,
tournaments, and Justin had a pretty good grasp of how to evaluate these cards. Even this combo.
yeah. So, yeah, I remember this one,
Yeah,
this conversation. So, evaluating like the Sabers combo. So, triple Lumina is 48, right? 48 plus the gain life, correct? So, if triple Lumina and this is 48, so one
and the
second.
soul.
Yeah, and the soul. So, um, oh, and the soul and the life because you can value soul for like beacon or something. So, let's say pitch card for the gallantry and then the courage and then the triple Lumina. That's 48 damage with 4 cards. So wow, 12 value per card. That sounds unfair, right? That sounds like broken. Um, because it's not a accurate way to describe the everything that went into the build up for that turn. So
Mhm.
one way I thought of how to evaluate a Bolton turn is you, or in general actually, is you put turns together. So my example for thinking about this was with Bravo and Tectonic Plating. How do you value the surge? So when you surge hammer, pitching a red, that's a 2 card 6 with surge, and then um, what if you like cast like a red debilitate or a choke slam off of a blue? So 2 card 8. So how do you sort of evaluate what just happened? So one way I thought of is you put the turns together. So instead of Anothos being Surge Anothos being a 2 card 6 and Debilitate being a 2 card 8, you can think of it as you put those cards together, and those two turns in conjunction work
So you card
together to
11.
make a 4 card. No, it's a 4 card 14.
Okay.
14.
Yeah, it's a 4 card 14 over 2 turns. So I was thinking of how to apply that with Lumina. Carl and I were talking about this. So with Bolton, it gets a lot crazier because it's not just turns and then another turn. It's one turn where you charged and three la. You with 2 cards you just charge and attack for 3.
Yeah,
And then
and for
another
most of
turn where
those turns, these are all under rate. These are all below rate.
severely,
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
all
Sorry I
severely.
interrupted you. Keep
Yeah, it's
going.
okay. So like all severely underrated, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like over 3.
Lost
It's
the
not even
card.
over 4, right? You lost a card over 3. Yeah. So you're like losing 4 value off of those turns that you just make up at the very end with the Lumina. It gets a lot more confusing because there's like cards like Soul Shield, right? That are like free soul. But if you do, so how much soul do you need for Bolton for like the combo?
At
Is it
least 4.
3? At least 4.
At
4
least
to be
four,
Quite
kasi
safe.
because from hitting with the sabers, you get additional soul.
Mhm. And you have
Yeah,
to make
well,
sure they can't just block out the saber
yeah.
and then stop the trade.
Mm.
So let's say 4. So let's say you get all that soul fairly, right, by doing the over 3 charge. So those turns were 2 card 3s. So that's 4 turns of 2 card 3s, and then 1 turn that is a 4 card 48.
Four,
4
48.
card 48 plus the life plus the soul.
Four
I
card,
think
let's say 4 card 52, 50. How about?
it's probably way more than
It's
that.
like a
Kasi
12 card 60.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a 12 card 60, diba? So 12 card
Yeah.
60, and you have to value also that you're using your armor. So some of that value is from your armor, right? It's not from the cards in hand. So let's like
Yeah.
the yeah. So
Gallantry and courage.
yeah. So you can, I guess, you can approximate with like the average value of armor. So like if the armor typically would have been like 2 points, then you can subtract that from the total value of the play. You get what I mean? So in order to get the value per card, so like what I did with Tunic a while ago, where if the armor is generating value, you subtract it from
The
the total
total
value, yeah.
mass of the turn, yeah.
So that you're only isolating the value per card, and not the fixed
Mm-hmm.
thing you're getting from your armor. So in that case, though, like a 4 card for, I guess with Lumina it's a lot more anyway. So that's 333. That's 4 cards. That's 12, and then 48, 60. So yeah, you said how many cards is that? 8, 11, 11, 12. Yeah, yeah, 12 cards,
Technically
60.
12. Actually,
Yeah,
9
so the pitch
card
card.
60. Since you
Yeah,
also need to have the 5 cards, yeah, including the arsenal to do the triple lumen. Because you
to
need
have a
a card to
charge.
charge. Yeah.
Or an extra soul plus beacon.
Yeah, and you also
Diba?
need
Yeah,
snapdragons or something like that. But I guess that's a pretty good way of evaluating it
yeah.
if
So like
you combine them all together.
It was like 12 cards 60. It it starts to make more sense, right? It's not completely busted. I get with triple lumina, once you start valuing the on hits and the soul, then it gets like completely busted. That's why triple lumina is so hard
To pull off.
to to pull off. It's also probably the only play in the game that is worth IPing yourself for in
Mm-hmm.
certain matchups, where you just hold the 2 luminas and just wait for the other one.
And you pass.
Yeah, you just pass because it might be the only play worth doing that. That's why I think. What if can we do it with double lumina? Because that, I think that's a
Yeah.
more like reasonable way to math it out. How much damage is double lumina? So
36.
it's 36. Is it 36? So you have 6 swings of
30.
5.
It
So
should be
30,
30.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
so let's say 30, and then so that's off of 3 cards plus the 6 that you had. Oh, sorry. Still, is it still 4? it's still four
The base
soul.
cards. Yeah, the base soul. Yeah,
So
4 is the safest number.
yeah, so 4 is that's 8 8 card 12, and then 3 8 cards and then plus 3, so that's 11. So that's 12 plus 30. That's an 11 card 42. 11 card 42 minus your armor, and then you add in the odd hits of Lumina. So like let's say Lumina, how many flips would you get from that? Let's say they block 2 of the swords. So you would
You get
get 1, 2,
Sa
you get
double Lumina, you'd
you
get
get like 8 flips.
2 from each swing.
yes.
Yeah, about 8 flips. So let's say you miss 2 of them, so like 6 life. 6 life and 6 soul. So like 6 life, 6 soul, 42. That's like 54. So it's like an 11 card 54. So it's not that OP, right? Like the
Yeah.
math makes sense once you start putting everything together.
Mm.
That's about 5 DPC. Right?
Yeah, and
So
it also uses all your equipment.
yeah, and all your equipment. So like maybe closer to like 50. Like an 11 card 50. So it's still above rate, but it's not breaking the game.
Yeah. Justin, guess
Yeah.
what the next card is
What's
in the PowerPoint?
the
While we're talking about these busted combos.
busted combos? Cincy Pommel Codex.
Next slide, please.
What's the next slide?
Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, okay. I actually was very interested in Max for a while. So I was thinking about it a lot. So Mechanoid is it 42? Is it correct? So 8 times it's 8 times 7 times 6. 42 plus 5.
1,
47.
2, 3,
Wow.
4.
47 damage. So you get 7 swing. So with just 3 hyperdrivers. So 3 legs, 8, and then the weapon. Yeah, so it's 8. You get 8 you get
Because
8
Bender's
ammo.
the last because Bender's the last thing you banish. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
The last
8
attack is
times
only for 5.
5. Yeah.
No.
Oh, no,
It's
8
7
times
times
6.
6. It's 7 times 6 plus 5. Because the last attack is for 5. Because you have to banish Bender. So
Yeah.
it loses the buff.
Yeah.
It's 47 damage. It's 47 damage, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, I guess. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So 9, 12, 14, 15. So it's 62 value. When you resolve Mechanoid and you catch it in, it's 62 value. But yeah. So
Yeah. But yeah.
I haven't I haven't thought about this one. So this one's fun. Okay. So with Max, so you're spending you're spending 2 resources for the hyperdriver and your action point.
Yes.
Also, okay. So that so it's 3. You're paying like 3 for each hyperdriver, and you need 3 hyperdrivers. So
Why
that's
would
like
it be
9
3?
because
do you
2
pay
resources in your action point.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like 3 6. It's like 3 6 9. Or like 3 cards. You could say that it's an extra card. The hyperdriver is an extra card. Or it's actually a little less because of the fact that boosting.
It trips value over the next few the
Yeah,
next
but
turn.
I think
Yeah.
it would be more difficult to look at it that way. I think the baseline way, if you look at it at face value, is if you do it fairly and just play hyperdrivers from the top of your deck in the same way as you're waiting for Luminous.
Okay.
Something like that.
Oh, okay. So like
If that's the base.
I think it's better to use the way it actually the way Maxes do it now as a base, where you just make hyperdrivers from ability. I think the main way Maxes do it now is the problem is if you play a boost card and then you make a hyperdriver, you play a boost card, make a hyperdriver, you're stuck on 2. So
you need Big Berthas.
You have to the math is you have to hit one
cards.
ability.
Yeah.
You have to break the cycle of the hyperdrivers killing themselves over 2 turns. Yeah. Basically.
Yeah, basically. So you have to hit the charge, a recharge, or you have to draw an actual card called recharge. So if you draw the actual card called recharge, then it
And it gives you a counter.
Yeah, it gives you a counter, so you get the 3 hyperdrive. So alright, this is it's so much more complicated also because on the flip turn there is an optimal flip turn with max. The optimal flip turn is you play a boost card, you make a hyperdriver, and you crank it all in the same turn.
Yeah.
It's not just make 3 hyperdrivers and then and then next turn play construct off of 2 cards, because then you're not able to use your 2 resources from the 2 cards you're pitching. Um, wow, it is so much harder to
Yeah, that's why I said if we look at it like you spend 3 of your turns basically doing nothing, just playing hyperdrivers out.
Mhm.
If it's that the case, you spend those 3 turns, just bring them
I
out.
think so it's not you're doing nothing. So it's kind of like with Bolton where you do like
Yeah.
a little bit of something. So in Max's case, it's typically pitch a blue to play a 2 cost
The
boost
boost.
and then make a hyperdriver. It's typically that. Um, so
Yeah, but it's more difficult to to calculate
so
the
it's
math.
the 2 cards, and then but then you'd have to use the first hyperdriver is typically free. So it depends if you wanna, because it's turn 0.
Mm-hmm.
Right, it's typically free. So if you count it with you having a okay, let's say you already have a hyperdriver and you just subtract that at the end.
So your
so
47 is
so you have 2 card 6, and then make a hyperdriver. So you're actually not losing much. You're losing 1, which is like your action point, because it should be 7. Uh, the reason why it's so close to on rate is because of boost. Boost is basically trading a card in deck for 1 point right now. That's why it's another thing that makes sense of your action point being 1 value. The fact that the boost cards when you're
It's
so like
one
let's say
card.
it's that's why they're like 1 above. You trade a card in deck for an action point which gets you 1 above rate. I guess small commercial. So like throttle and pistol in dash is a 2 card 8, which is 1 above rate, which you got from boosting because it got you an action point, right? So that's where that math that's how that math sort of makes sense with the boost cards. So let's say in max also, so you 2 card 6, so you're losing like 1 value a turn. You're just doing 2 card 6s over and over. So let's say you just natural the recharge. You hit a crankshaft or a big Bertha. So you're doing 2 card 6s repeatedly. Let's say you do that for like, it's less consistent than Bolton because you know the souls going in. Whereas with Max, it's not guaranteed to hit the recharge. You just have a probabilistic chance of hitting the recharge. I think what's the average? It's like 4 or 5 after 4 or 5 boosts, right? You're
yeah.
you're you're expected to get a recharge. Do you
I
know the
think
math, Franco?
it should be a little bit less.
It's like
It
so if you
depends
have
on the build, on the amount of those.
Usually,
you usually have
well,
9 recharges, right? You usually have 9 recharges.
9 recharges.
The
So,
the
yeah,
6 blues and then red or yellow crankshaft.
Yeah, it should be less than 4 or 5 turns. Maybe a little
If
bit
it's
less.
if it's 9, if it's 9, actually it's like 6 turns. 'Cause it's like 1 in 6.
1 and 6.
Yeah, it's about 1 in 6. So let's say 6 turns. I think that's a fair way to do it, where you're just doing that over and over.
But
Yeah, I
you
guess.
don't,
Technically, you just
but
need one.
yeah, you need the
Yeah, you just need
first.
1. Yeah, you just need
Oh,
Yeah, you
1.
just need one.
So let's say 5. Let's say
So
5.
yeah,
let's say
Let's say
5.
5.
Yeah.
Let's say 5. So 5. There's 5 turns where you're just 2 card 6ing. Um,
which
sometimes
is actually fine. 206
yeah,
is fine.
it's fine. It's fine actually. Also, wait, some of those turns also when you have the 2 hyperdrivers, it can be a 1 card 4. Because you can just zero the 2 hyperdrivers, give you the resources to
To make the third.
yeah.
Um,
So let's say, so for for a little spice, so let's do like 3 turns that are 2 card 6, and then 2 turns that are 1 card 4. which are all like on rate, right? Yeah, those are all on rate. And then you have the flip turn. Um, hmm. Oh, I guess let's just remove the let's just subtract the resources of Mechanoid. So Mechanoid is 4, so
4.
that's 3 card. It's 2 cards and the Mechanoid, which is 4. And then let's say you do use the 2 resources effectively, so that's like 2 points. So that's so it's so wait. Let's say the boost turns are 3 turns of 2 for 6. So that's 6 cards. 7, 8, 7, 8, 6, 12, 18, 22, 26, 26. So that's uh 8 card 26, and then you add in the Mechanoid, which is a 3 card 3 card
Or
62.
62.
Yeah, 62.
Yeah, 62 plus the 2 resources you had floating, so like 64 if you're able to use it efficiently. So that's a how many cards is that? 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. 8 card. What was the first value? 8 card.
26%.
8 card 26 plus 3 card 62.
62.
That's 11 card.
11 card.
26 plus
88.
62.
11
88.
card 88. Yeah, so this is actually why like
Insane.
I actually think Max is pretty good. And if you this is actually why I think Max is pretty good because the value is so insane if you're able to cash it in. The problem was just that sometimes you die before you cash it in.
Yeah. And there
Um,
is more hate for Necromechanide. You can
yeah,
just destroy
yeah,
you can just arg smash the Necromechanide.
yeah.
Your arg smash is like a 2 card.
You just lose on the spot.
Is it 2 card 88?
Yeah, is the arc smash now 2 card 88?
Yeah.
So yeah, and all of the brutes now. I think the KOs are running smashing performance as well, which I
Yeah.
think can try and play around, right? You make a hyper driver and then you just
Bait.
you pray.
I think the other thing here to also factor in is that the mechanoid the value of the mechanoid, you don't get to realize that immediately. So you can call it a 62.
Yeah.
But
But
that's a
not right
62
now.
over the next few turns. And
No, it's over 8
62
turns.
Oh, that's over 8 turns, and that
Oh.
has to.
Wait
And
lang.
that has to. Sorry.
It eats your
You
action
look-
point. So you
Yeah.
subtract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yun nga. So you subtract one action point. You subtract your action points for the 8 turns, so that's minus 8.
80.
Yeah.
Tama ba?
That's 80.
It's 80.
Still.
And
This is fun.
yung I know. And but you also have to factor in that the mechanoid value is now in addition to your normal turn. So if you're still doing a 2 card for 6, the mechanoid has to step in. The mechanoid steps in after that. So that's probably, I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, you can imagine a turn na 2 card 6, then hyperdriver crack, then mechanoid. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like the rest of your turn still has to.
Mm. So, but I think basically all it is to say na I think that I think the 4 card, what was that, 4 card 50 something? Oh, ba?
Which one's this?
The
The
3 card
The mechanoid.
60.
The mechanoid.
oh the
three card-
mechanic. It was 3 card
62.
62.
2 minus, let's say minus 8. Tama ba?
Yeah, minus 8.
Yeah. So let's say 62 minus 8.
54.
54.
Minus 7.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
the 3 card 55. So the
Yeah,
3 card 55 is basically not. It's. I guess it's because the comparison with the Lumina is that the Lumina is the value is all realized in that one turn.
Yes.
Yeah.
As compared to
Makes
here,
sense.
this one basically rides on your normal turn. So basically, you attack and block as normal, but you have that 55. You have that 55 value dripping into the rest of the turn. So, which is why, we can, if you look at Max as the 3 card 55, then yes, grabe broken. I mean, it kind of sounds broken, but but that 55 again, like
Wait, sorry. What's our new total again? Sorry, it's 11 card
Yeah.
11 card
Should
81.
be 11 card 88 minus
11
7.
card
So
Yeah.
88
11
minus
card
7.
81.
So 11 card 81. That's our value for Max
Yeah.
now. 11 card 81.
Basically, the 11 card 81, the 55 of that 81 is also spread out among the later turns. So that basically, that's let's say there's a chance that that's back to 246 plus the value of each mechanoid swing going forward. So yeah, basically all this to say, I think it's spread out. The fact that it's spread out even more is why I guess it's not as broken as the math makes it appear, at least with regard to thinking of it as 3 card 55. Anyway,
I guess the idea is that once you have Mechanoid, if you're in a position where typically you will be behind, right? You will be lower life.
by that time,
If you are ahead,
Typically lower
you're
life than
super
you.
ahead.
Yeah. So your turns will typically just be block 12 and Mechanoid.
Yeah.
Typically, right? Unless you're fighting a more defensive deck. So if
Until you get until
yeah,
they
until
have
you
to
just
block you.
realize. Yeah, until you just realize the value of the Mechanoid.
Mm.
So yeah, that's actually so. There's a lot of value in the mech cards being all block threes. That's something I really liked about Max. Actually, your only block twos in the deck are recharge, and then everything else is block three. So when you do have the Mechanoid and you're just cashing it in, just drop your hand 12, and then so everything is on rate. The 3 and you still use your action point with the Mechanoid. So I actually think so. Like resolving it, I think is pretty broken. I think if you can resolve it just every turn, and you have I guess the hard part is you need the time to realize it. If you die before you realize it, then it's dead. It's kind of like I guess with like the dash pistol Exodia, right? Where you're pretty behind until you just until you add up the later turns, and now you're above rate.
Yeah.
So, but you have to, you have to survive after that.
Yeah,
That's the
actually, sa Pistol Dash, I think the delta is even bigger because you're playing an item that didn't block with, and that's your action point for the turn.
yeah. It's a lot more like the rate of like your initial is so much lower because it's 0. It's like 1 because you got to load an item, you load your pistol, and that card like does nothing. You're doing like 2 card ones.
The ceiling is really far from the floor is really far from the ceiling.
Yeah, of like when you get everything going, and then the rates are like really good. Like you need so many turns. Yeah.
And for the Exodia Dash, you don't really lose cards since you're just pitching. You just lose cards when you block. You're never actually boosting anyway. As compared to Nitro. And sometimes you get to boost your Construct Nitro Mechanoid.
Yeah. And like sometimes if depending on how the Max is playing, also the boost cards do matter. The boost card, like the fact that he's running out of deck, does matter sometimes. If you're not allowing them to high octane combo, or if they aren't able to set it up properly.
I think Nitro Mechanoid is the best definition of a clock in this game. If it's out there, there's a clock for both your opponent and for you. Since if you are actually forced to block each turn, you're losing 4 cards each turn. How many turns do you have left? Before so it's another math thing.
Just another thing I realized. So we have 11 card 81, right? It's 11 card 81 minus 6 cards from deck.
Because of the boost.
Yeah, because of the boost.
Well, 5 or 6. Depends if you get a recharge or a big Bertha.
No, because you're always boosting. But you're always boosting. So
okay.
those earlier turns do cost a card from deck.
but boosting the Bertha or the crankshaft. You one resource back. Anyway.
Oh yeah, it does.
I mean,
Yeah,
in
it
the
does.
sense that it gives you
It
the counter on the
yeah, it
hyperdrive, so you
basically
have
gives
another
you
floating
the
one later on.
Yeah, for one turn, yeah. On the
mm,
Mechanoid turn, yeah.
okay. That anyway. So now that we've talked we've gone into a deep dive on the basics, flesh and blood, actually, and the different combinations, the let's say the broken combos. We're not gonna touch into Kano because I don't think Kano is it does
I think
not
it's
correctly
yeah.
reflect the
Yeah.
proper design of flesh and blood.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it at least with these there is some semblance of when you start adding
Yes.
up, right? It does make a lot with Kano it won't.
Nah,
It will never. It will never.
no, no, no. Let's not
The fact
go
that like
there.
the fact that you can AB wildfire, the fact that like in order to do the combo your opponent has to tap out or like it's so much harder. It's so much harder.
All right. So
And I sorry.
go
Even the
ahead.
fact that AB is uh, a less interactive way of approach.
Mhm.
I mean, arcane damage versus AB is so much less interactive than attacking blocking. So
Yeah.
I think I mean even valuing arcane damage is different when you
Mhm.
have to contextualize it in that way.
Yeah.
So yeah.